London's newest £700 million rail project didn't start with fresh tracks. It started with a ghost line no one ridden for a century. Because while the city kept expanding outward, a quiet stretch of steel running through West London just sat there hidden in plain sight for someone to remember what it could really do. This is called the West London Orbital, and this began as a Transport for London proposal to turn the long ignored Dudding Hill Freight Line, a 4-mile corridor with no stations and no passenger trains, into the backbone of a new overground route. Instead of digging tunnels or carving out new land, planners realised London already had the infrastructure. It just hadn't been used since the First World War. The idea was simple, but bold, to connect Hounslow in the west to Brent Cross and Hendon in the north, using a chain of existing tracks, underused junctions and a strip of railway most Londoners didn't know even existed. A forgotten industrial leftover suddenly became the foundation of one of the capital's biggest transport upgrades. But the real twist starts when you see what this hidden line connects next, because this isn't just a line on a map. It stitches together corners of London that were never meant to meet. While Londoners fought their daily battles on packed tube lines, a completely different travel network was being quietly assembled, one station at a time. The West London Orbital would run from Hounslow through to Alworth, Neasden Lane, Brentford and a new Lionel Road stop. From there it climbs to South Acton, Acton Central and a giant interchange at Old Oak Common, London's future transport super hub. Then the line splits north, reaching Harlesden, Neasden, Brent Cross and eventually Hendon or West Hampstead, with no new tunnels, no land battles, just London reactivating the infrastructure it's always had. It's the orbital link London has always lacked, moving people across the city instead of dragging everyone through the centre. And that's when the numbers start shifting in a way City Hall couldn't ignore. Because the price tag isn't just a cost, it's a strategy. While other rail mega schemes stretched into the billions, this one stays suspiciously lean. Transport for London estimates the orbital can be delivered for around £700 million. This is unusually low for a project of this scale. With existing tracks, existing land and upgrades, and not excavate engineering could keep the cost contained. Stations can be added without a decade of legal wrangling. For the government, this is a rare, major London project without a 10-figure price tag. For the London Mayor, it's a chance to argue this is one rail scheme that can actually be built within a political cycle. In a city where budgets evaporate quickly, the orbital line looks like the bargain that might finally break through. But money isn't the only force accelerating this project. The land around it is already moving, because this line isn't just moving people, it's moving billions in land and housing. While politicians argue costs, developers saw something very different taking shape along the tracks. The orbital line unlocks major development zones across Hounslow, Brent Cross, Barnet and the enormous Old Oak Common. Thousands of homes depend on better transport links, and the orbital becomes the catalyst that turns post-industrial land into actual neighbourhoods. The councils backed it early to ease traffic on the North Circular, while investors saw the missing link for Brent Cross and Old Oak, two of the most expensive regeneration sites in Europe. This isn't a commuter line, it's a scaffolding for the next chapter of West London's growth. But support alone doesn't build a railway, politics does. Because in London, every rail line is built twice, once on paper and once in Parliament. Behind the scenes, the orbital became a tug of war between City Hall determination and Westminster caution. TfL and the Mayor pushed for national approval in the autumn budget, aiming to secure funding to move the project into formal design and construction. But central government, juggling rail overruns and shifting priorities, hesitated. The orbital hovered into planning limbo, widely supported, technically feasible, but waiting for the political moment when the £700 million West Side Orbital becomes a vote winner rather than a risk. Its biggest barrier isn't engineering, it's who gets the credit and when. Which brings the story to its most pressing point yet. Because every year this project waits, the timeline stretches further into the future. While Westminster delays decisions, London keeps expanding. Congestion keeps rising, and that silent century-old line remains frozen in time. Demand across West and North West London is set to surge as Brent Cross, Old Oak Common and new housing zones fill in. Without this orbital link, pressure on the Tube and North Circular becomes unavoidable. Transport for London now estimates that if the government approves the land soon, construction would push completion between 2032 and 2034, nearly a decade from today. A ready-mailed railway, sitting unused for 100 years, could become essential just as the city hits its next population peak. Which means the final challenge isn't building the orbital, it's keeping the timeline from slipping beyond the moment London needs it most. So this story closes with the clock ticking. The line is there, the demand is rising, and the window for a 2032 to 2034 opening is narrowing with every political delay. The question now isn't whether London needs this forgotten railway, it's whether leaders will act before the city outgrows the chance to use it. And as Old Oak transforms and Brent Cross rises, the pressure keeps increasing. Because somewhere in West London, that dormant track still waits, and the moment someone decides to switch it on, everything will change. If you enjoyed the breakdown of this video and you want more just like this, make sure that you subscribe to my channel, like the video and comment your thoughts on this. I'm really interested to hear what you have to say about this, and what you believe should happen next. Because what we try to do on this channel is break down the mega projects happening in the UK and create conversation.